And you're involved in changing, helping people really understand change and deal with change and work through change, right?
I am. And change is a really interesting thing because to the brain, change means loss or death. And if nothing else, death of the way of thinking about something or doing something. So change is very, very frightening initially. People say they like change, and yet what I find is they like input and they like stimulus and they like to try things out and investigate. Real change, how do you go to work in the morning? How do you commute? Probably the exact same road or the exact same method every day. What do you eat for breakfast?
Yeah.
Probably one of two things. What restaurants do you eat in? Very, very similar, the things that we actually do. So people have a real challenge getting out of their comfort zone and realizing that they can. And a lot of the times the comfort zone is a mindset. We really create mental prisons for ourselves, and people need to be taught really how to think differently and that they can think differently, that they're
Right.
not constricted by this voice in the head and what's going on in their heads. That could be very different. And then nothing happens typically is because we have to change the thought process. If we don't really get into the thought process of how to make the change and really to try it on and practice it, I mean, you can't learn to be a professional golfer from a book. We learn from the TED Talks and the podcasts and all this great content that's out there. We don't embrace it. And we don't embrace it because we don't literally start to say, how can I make this different in my head? And this is a challenge that I give to people all the time. What's the voice in your head saying? Oftentimes you'll see small progress along the way, but to see real long-term progress, it really comes down to you have to change the mindset. And this is the problem, I think, in corporate America in particular, and most corporate environments. It doesn't have to just be America. I see it in Australia, I see it in the UK, I see it in Europe, a variety of places. We want it now. And we think, and I get asked over and over to come in and do a 2-hour session and fix our employees. I can present the concept, but if you want to see actual change, you've got to go through mindset change. And that's about what's the voice in the head.
Exactly.
And how do you talk to yourself? Because the reality is how we speak, how we communicate is really reflective of how we think. So it's a real interesting thing, how we communicate with people and interact with people, and whether they actually inspire us and support us or they constrict us.